Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. We're back. My voice is back. It's time to do some more interesting stuff because every single word doesn't hurt me. You know what I realized? The quality of conspiracy theories we've been getting lately are really quite poor. I mean, putting chips in the vaccines leading to monkeypox and stuff like that. It's all pretty tame and boring. First of all, they're never going to put microchips in a vaccine. No way. They would have a recombinant DNA virus, and that way it would be encoded in your system. Because microchips break down and are basically useless after a couple of years. Not to mention that theoretically, microchips that are small enough to fit through a needle really don't have any power. Again, boring. I remember the days when they were talking about secret trains that were going from New York to Los Angeles, and these things were supposedly rocking back and forth carrying secret military personnel. Remember Denver Airport? Wonderful place for conspiracies. All those cryptic monoliths and paintings, and yeah, wonderful place for conspiracies. The imperial family and the crown of England. They're supposedly shapeshifters. They supposedly have their fingers in everything. The problem is, they're boring. They walk around in public, shake hands, and that's about it. It's all boring and non-existent, and we can't find any proof for it, which is a shame. But first of all, you have to realize that people who are really in a conspiracy don't advertise. No. They're not the ones shaking hands. Elon Musk, let's pick on him for a second. And I personally have examined his life and drawn up some parallels between him and Hugo Drax from the James Bond movie Moonraker. Is he a supervillain? Probably not. Is he a selfish billionaire? Probably. But it's hard to spin a good conspiracy yarn off of it. It's not like the JFK assassination or 9/11 or any of those other hot button topics. Truth is, in 2022, the conspiracies that we have, if they exist at all, are just plain dumb. I mean, let's look at David Icke, for example. I actually like a lot of what David Icke writes. He writes a lot of stuff about how to boost your frequency, how to get rid of, the nasty energy and stuff like that from yourself. And then he wavers off into his little conspiracy theories about reptilians and shapeshifters and how they're coming to get you, and they could come any day. Well, the problem is that day has never come, and I've been watching since the 1980s. I've seen Queen Elizabeth go from a middle-aged woman to an extremely old woman, so if she had any plans, she would have executed them by now. Prince Charles. I apologize to Prince Philip. Prince Charles. He will have virtually no public support. You know what? I don't mind him wanting to be king, because who wouldn't? He's waited decades. He's not going to be a popular king. He's never going to be feted in the same way his mother was or his grandfather was. But he'll hold the throne for a couple of years. Hopefully he passes it down after that. Because there's nothing wrong with abdicating. That's happened more than a couple times. And realistically, it would probably be best for the entire throne. Let him have his run for a couple of years and let him retire for health reasons. Let him go back to living his lifestyle of the rich and famous, and everybody will be happy. As far as CIA secret note items, yeah, the CIA and the Department of Defense in general have tons of stuff, and I mean tons, that they're developing. They were developing a railgun that they only abandoned in 2021, which was a phenomenal piece of technology and Realistically, the only reason they stopped working on it is lasers are getting cheap enough that they can be used instead. Logical budget decision. The so-called Aurora item in the, I think it was the 1985 budget, I might be corrected. It was a line item. It was listed by one word, the Aurora. It's supposedly in a plain budget, and we've never seen it since. Now, while some people say it's still under development today, let's be realistic. Let's look at the F-35. The F-35 has been about 15 years in development, and people are getting sick of hearing about it. Now imagine a general. Imagine a general who's waiting for a piece of equipment to work whatever operations that he wants to do. He's not going to be waiting 40 years to get his piece of equipment. That's going to be 4 generals from him. Or 4 admirals, depending on whether it was Navy or not. The A-12 Avenger. Wonderful stealth plane. Incredibly capable. Canceled because it's going to take too much time, too much money. These are not conspiracies, aside from the fact that they're being held from the public. Those are being held from the public for perfectly defensible reasons. You don't want to unveil too much about your technology until you have to, just like the F-117. Now, as far as the civilian population control goes, I don't think you really need to do too much of it in the modern age. The internet is a type 1 communication system, and I'm using type 1 on the Kardashev scale. The internet is fantastic. We all love it. I know you're listening to it right now at least, and you're probably doing a couple other functions as well. But the internet is fantastic, and it has way more potential for population control than anything else. Myself, the other day I Googled something out of interest. I was looking at serial killers before the school shooting happened. I'll deal with that another day. But because of that, I wanted to find out, how much certain things cost and how much that. And next thing, in my news feed on Facebook, boom, one of the services appears. I'm like, wow, that did not take very long at all. The internet is a conspiracy theory because it is being made artificially intelligent. Amazon has repeatedly bragged, although I find this laughable, but they brag that the second you log onto their page, they already know what you want. So that's why they target their ads to you. Again, I think they need to work on this system, but that's what the system is going towards. In the Ukrainian-Russian war, we're already seeing cyber attacks happen with much higher value than even a nuclear attack could bring. A nuclear attack could probably bring more casualties, but imagine for a second if you decided to attack a hospital and shut it down. It should be a war crime to do this, but it's possible. And so long as it's possible, it's a genuine threat. And hospitals are incredibly dependent on their computers and their technology. Yes, doctors are good. They can be like, Bones McCoy in Star Trek, where without it he can still jam on someone's chest trying to do CPR and stuff like that. But realistically, even he was more effective with all of his tools, his salt and pepper shaker that were painted to look cool. Conspiracies. One of the problems with conspiracies is the ones that have been activated, and the ones that aren't remain forever unknown. We know about JFK because there's so many inconsistencies. I will do a show on this one day. I have a guest who is perfectly willing to come on. We're just trying to coordinate things. There's one external factor that's limiting the both of us, and it's something we can't ignore, but it needs to be taken care of, and that's what I'm going to say. 9/11 is just, again, we're told one thing, but the visual evidence and the physical evidence shows something radically different. It doesn't necessarily implicate anybody, but believe me, I was in the let it happen camp, which means they knew about it coming and allowed it to happen. And I had evidence for that, just like Pearl Harbor. The British told the United States that Pearl Harbor was going to happen, and the United States chose to do nothing so that way they could enter World War I with a clear conscience. Politics, war by any other means, and conspiracies. Like I said, the most important thing to remember about people in a conspiracy is they're not going to advertise what they're doing. Masons don't stand up and shout they are Masons, and Masons are not really part of any conspiracy aside from the conspiracy to keep their organization going. It's not a conspiracy, that's just kind of survival. It's going to be hard for them to do it. The more people are at home, staying at home, and not going out. Same way for movie theaters. People aren't going out to movie theaters in the same way they were before the plague. And it's unfortunate, but there's no conspiracy to keep movie theaters alive. Heck, Disney has already shown that they're willing to pull people away from movie theaters and show the stuff at home. And I kind of like that. Now, what I don't like is it's economically advantageous for Disney and, MGA, Universal, whoever the heck else you want to wrap into those packages. It's a more advantageous for them to use their streaming services than to put it on into a movie theater, etc. Now, I know some people love going to movie theaters, experiencing that THX surround sound and all of its glory. And I got no problem with that. And I'm old enough to remember when drive-thrus were a big thing. You would go with your family, hook your radio up, or you turn it on to an extremely faint station, and you were there with lots of other people, even though you were in your own concrete little bundle. We don't have anything like that today. Well, we still do have drive-ins, but they're very few and far between compared to what they were. Was this the action of a conspiracy? No. Was it aliens from another planet that came down and shapeshifted and decided to take away the drive-thru? No. Sorry, drive-in. Drive-thrus are as popular as ever. But drive-in movies, yeah. And to me, I would rather go to a drive-in than I would to a regular movie theater, because at a drive-in, first of all, I can bring whatever snacks I feel like. You can't control me. I can even set up a little hibachi out there if I want. Well, probably not. As I recall, there was security going around for that. But whereas a normal movie theater, they always tell you no snacks, and I've heard situations where people have been shaken down. Again, this is not a conspiracy. Malls. Well, I had a chance to go to our local mall the other day, and let me tell you, it's like a bomb went off in there. A few of the bigger stores survived, but all the stores that I predicted, those little clothing stores that specialize to female teenagers between 16 and 21, or jewelry stores, most of them did not make it. And it's a shame. It's not easy to open a retail business. Was this a conspiracy? No, absolutely not. I suppose you could construct something saying it's better to keep people at home, and this was a long-term advantage of constructing the virus. But ultimately, no, it was purely economic. And the fact is, most of those business owners had enough connections to keep them going through a lot of things, just not a 2-year lockdown. So I'm afraid most of the conspiracy theories out there are false. We have to concentrate on events, like I said, JFK assassination, 9/11, Pearl Harbor. There are events that are put up and worked towards. But nobody, and I mean nobody, is working towards something 4 or 5 generations from now. Elon Musk isn't saying, I'm setting up SpaceX so that my children can go to Mars. No, he says he's going to Mars. That's for him. Prince Charles knows his kids are going to be next in line on the throne. He has nothing to conspire over. So everything that he's doing is just simply his whim. There's no trains and tunnels underneath the United States because planes work. They're faster. They carry as much cargo. Well, maybe not as much. You can load a heck of a lot on a train, but still, planes are better. And planes bring us back to the Denver airport, which there's a lot of strange artifacts out there. And when you get to know artists, most of them do have a meaning in mind for their work, but it's rarely as sinister as people ascribe the motives to. And artists get a kick out of people interpreting too much into what they put down. Now, the Georgia Guidestones, that's peculiar. I'd love to do a deeper dive into that, but I don't possess the ability at the present time. But a true conspiracy, would be a generational operation that looks to empower certain individuals. Well, no, people get into power all the time. But like I explained earlier, that window is harder now because with the idea of shareholder capitalism coming in, which means you, as a part of the company, have to buy into the company, and the company owns a part of you. And like I said, all these stores going bankrupt, leaving away the big box stores open, means your opportunity to open your little lemonade shop is a lot harder because you're in competition with McDonald's lemonade, Burger's lemonade, Wendy's lemonade, everybody's lemonade. Opening a bar in 2022, as much as I respect those who choose to do it, it's a suicide mission. I mean, before you open, okay, if you're going to open the lemonade stand, let's pick on the lemonade stand. You can hire 16-year-olds for whatever the minimum wage is for them. They grind up lemons and make lemonade. Fantastic. To open a bar where people can drink, you have to have stock, and lots of stock, because people are going to order beer, they're going to order some kind of food, whether it's basic, whatever you want to do there. But that means you're going to need some sort of a cook. And probably a cook for, 8 to 10 hours. He's probably going to need somebody as an assistant, whether it's a dishwasher you promise to train up, etc. You're going to need a bartender of some description. Now let's make this the most primitive, basic bar of all time. Say a couple hundred square feet, places to sit, and the bartender, you're going to need 2 of them, because sooner or later one's going to want a day off. And you're going to need to have both of them in working on the weekends, because they're going to need to go out and serve tables. Then you need a security person, probably 2. And you as the owner are going to have to be on site for most of the time, because it's a bar. People get drunk, people get weird, they do all sorts of things. So which is better, opening a lemonade stand with you, a couple kids, and maybe a manager, and your product is simple, or a bar where you have all sorts of different products? So is there a conspiracy not to open more bars? No. It's simple math and simple reality. The lemonade stand is going to be more profitable. Nothing against you or your lemonade stand or your bar, but that's just the way things are. And we're going to have to move forward and realize that the old economy wasn't working, and our new economy isn't working. We have to start inventing new niches. And the biggest place we have to invent them is online, because you can have a fantastic little burger chain in a local area with selling burgers and lemonade. And that will probably even catch some people if you get the recipes and everything right. But ultimately, you're a nobody until you have that online presence. So, really look at your conspiracies and try to decide who's benefiting from a multi-generational conspiracy. The answer is nobody. Elon Musk, Ted Turner, people like that, they have billions and billions of dollars, and they're mostly interested in protecting their wealth. That's right, they're buying sports teams, they're buying other businesses, and that's to protect their wealth. It's a good investment. Twitter is going to go up in value. Everything's going to go up in value, and they can pass that on, or in Elon Musk's case, he can control that stuff from Mars if that's what he intends to do. Conspiracies aren't quite what we used to think they were, and the pandemic killed them off. We'd like to thank you for joining us for this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you enjoyed this, please hit like, share, subscribe, buy the books in the link down below, and we hope you have a fantastic day.